Oh, the time I accidentally levitated? Yeah, I'll tell you about it. I've had back issues pretty much my entire life. I've had different back surgeries. I've gone through a lot with my back. One of the worst things I ever went through with my back was during my freshman year. I basically hurt my back in a way to where I basically couldn't walk for an entire year. I was homeschooled. I was in and out of different chiropractors and different back doctors. Nobody could really find out what was wrong, and nothing that anybody did actually could help. One day when I came home from high school, I had walked home. That wasn't a big deal. Grandma was making dinner, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to turn on some TV and I'm going to lay on my bed. But I didn't lay like laying on my back. I laid kind of like this on my tummy, watching TV, and I laid there for a while. While I was laying there, I felt a kind of feeling, and it hurt really, really bad. It was almost exactly the time where my grandma called me for dinner. I tried to get up, and I basically couldn't. We went in and out of different doctors trying to figure it out, and eventually they're like, we don't know what's going on. She might end up having to have another surgery or something, but here's an egg crate for her to lay on, and here's like some different things, because the pain and the pressure was so bad, and there was really no way for me to relieve the pressure. One night I'm laying there and the pain is so intense, and I had been in bed for months at this time, and I don't know if you've ever been bedridden for like a very extended amount of time, but it sucks. You'd think because you're just laying there that you're very, very rested, but you're not. You're exhausted. You are more exhausted than you have ever been in your entire life, because it's exhausting to be laying in bed doing nothing. I hate to say it, but it is. And on top of everything, my back hurt from constant pressure. I couldn't really lay on my side. I had to lay on my back, and there was constant pressure. So if you've ever been bedridden for a long time, you know what that's like, and it sucks. One night the pain was so intense I just couldn't take it, and I'm laying there almost in tears, and I was just thinking, man, I wish I could float. I wish I was on a cloud. If I was on a cloud, I wouldn't hurt anymore. If I could just be on a cloud, I wouldn't hurt anymore. If I could be on a cloud, I wouldn't hurt anymore. And I'm picturing me laying on top of a cloud, and how it would feel so nice to lay on a cloud, because there wouldn't be any pressure. I would just be floating midair, and I would just feel amazing. And little by little, as I'm sitting there picturing this, I could feel the pressure on my back releasing, and I thought, oh, it's working, it's working. I'm tricking my brain. I'm on a cloud. I'm on a cloud. I'm on a cloud. Have you ever been asleep and the house settles or makes kind of a noise, and then you kind of see like a white flash of light in your mind's eye? It just kind of startles you. They call it exploding head syndrome. I don't know if your head's really exploding when that happens, but it's just like you'll hear a creak and then you see the white blinding flash of light. Well, as I'm laying there, picturing that I'm on this cloud, I hear a creak or a crack or something, and boom, white flash of light. And then next thing I know, that's me falling back onto my bed. And our bed was horrible. I bounced, like, it was a horrible bed. But anyway, so like I'm bouncing, and I sleepily turn and look over, and my sister's sitting up in bed, and she's just looking at me, and she asks, were you just floating? And I was like, I don't know. Was I? Now, I've got to say, my sister is very down to earth. She is not a bullshit kind of person. She's very normal. She's very down to earth. You know what I mean? She likes Halloween just like the next person, but she's not like gung-ho the way that like I am, you know? So for her to come up with anything and say, were you just floating? She's not like a big fish story kind of person. She's very, this is what it is. What I think happened was that I almost played the game light as a feather, stiff as a board by myself. I think that's what actually happened. Have you ever played light as a feather, stiff as a board? I have, and you can do it when somebody's sitting. How I originally played this was actually in school. We had a substitute teacher teach this to us. Like, that's who played this with us. Okay, so now you want to hear about the substitute teacher. Oh my God, the rabbit hole. Okay, so this is what it is. When I was in like 5th grade, we had a substitute teacher. He came in, he told us to pick the biggest kid in the class, which was this kid named Kevin. He sat in a chair. He took the 4 smallest students, so it was me and 3 other girls, and he had us go around the person, right? He was sitting in a chair. He had us take our fingers like this and put them underneath his armpits and the creak where his knee bends, right? And he said, try to lift him. And so we're like sticking it in there. We can't lift him up. You can't lift him up. So what did he have us do? He had us put our hands stacked over our heads, over his head, wiggling our fingers, and he said, focus your energy into Kevin. Think about him getting light, like he's lighter than a cloud, he's lighter than a feather, and have him rise, okay? You're thinking about him being light. And then he said, Kevin, your job is to think about being light like a feather, light like a cloud. You're just floating into the air, right? So then he had us take our fingers and put them back underneath his armpits and back underneath his kneecaps. And he had us lift. This time, Kevin lifted right up in the air. We had all of our hands extended over our head and as far as we could go, and Kevin was in the air. And then Kevin's like, ugh, and then all of a sudden he gets heavy and he falls and he drops, right? Years down the line, I ended up performing that trick during church camp for a talent show, and they didn't like that I did that because it worked. So what do I think I did? I think I accidentally light as a feather, stiff as a board myself. I think I did it myself, that my mental game was strong enough. I needed to have the relief so bad. I needed that pressure removed from me so bad that that's what happened. I was just, one minute I am in pain on a bed, the next I'm having relief, and the next I'm falling from a height about a foot above my bed. Maybe a foot and a half, but about a foot above my bed. Do I think that this is possible for other people too? Absolutely. Do I believe in people flying? Absolutely. If you guys want to hear about it, I literally had a time where I flew as a child and had proof the next day that I really had happened. That was its own whole thing. The human mind is amazing. The things that we are capable of is amazing. There are so many drugs and so many things in our water and in our air that are trying to dull us down so that we don't have these abilities, but they are inside of us all. They're just lying dormant. In the moment, I really, really needed to be floating. I really needed the relief from my body. I really needed to feel that relief. And my mind was so strong that my body responded in a way that I don't know if science can prove or disprove what I'm speaking of, but I know what happened. And it was, if my sister had not been awake, I probably would have put it off that this must have just been some sort of elaborate dream. But no, it happened. This happened. Please like, share, subscribe, comment below if you ever had a moment where you levitated or thought you flew. Let me know if you guys want to hear more of these. I have a giant list in my manifestations book of all kinds of stories that really happened to me, and I'm going to be telling them. Please keep the comments really nice. I know I've only had like a handful of haters out of the hundreds of thousands of people who are writing me and commenting me. You guys are so kind and so sweet, and I really adore you for that. Just please, if you're gonna stand up to me for somebody who is a muggle, just realize they're basic. That's a basic person saying those things, and don't worry about them, okay? Because I'm not worried about that. I know who I am. You know who you are. The people who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear to know what's really going on in this world, we're up to par. We're on the game. The people who don't, it's because if they were to admit what's really going on around them, it would terrify them because it would break and shatter all of their beliefs that they were grown up with. And some people just aren't ready for that. So they're going to say hateful things, or they're going to say, dismissive things, because it's easier for them to do that than to admit that there is magic in the world.